You
So,
sound like a dead man.
I just woke up, man. I'm tired. Yo,
I
so I
can hear
played
it.
Red Dead last night online with Kyle,
Hmm.
and I gotta say, man, it's pretty cool.
Yeah,
It's a lot like GTA.
it is cool. Yeah,
It just has a lot of the
yeah,
same
I like it.
elements.
Hmm. I like the fact that it's what is it called? It's very easy to just understand, and it's just a fun game. I don't know what else to say besides that.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely recommend it. I don't know. I mean, I
Yeah.
expected it was going to be pretty good or whatever, but man, I was just like engaged like right from the beginning. It's pretty cool. Kyle's been
And
showing me
it's
the
a
ropes.
beautiful game.
Yeah, yeah, it's really nice.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a fun game.
Yeah, I like it. I
But
like it.
yeah,
But yeah, a lot of grinding and stuff. But
yeah,
yeah, it's pretty cool. Last night we
yeah.
played one, Alex,
That's
and
the
there's
one thing.
there's a mission where you go inside of
Uh
like a building, and well, it's like
huh.
it's got an open middle, but it's like surrounded, and you got to try to make it through waves, kind of like
Yeah.
Nazi zombies. It's really cool.
Yes, yes, yes. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah,
Yeah, we got
yeah.
up to
I don't
like
know. It's fun. I'm
what?
no, no, no. Go, go, go.
We got up to like level 7 or 8 doing that, and I mean that was pretty good, I guess,
Yep.
considering it was my first time. Cause like I think you can only get up to 10 or something, but yeah, we almost got there.
Mm. Yeah,
Really
it's
cool.
harder than Call of Duty because how the aiming system, it's just kind of different.
Well, are you using a controller or no?
Yeah, I'm using a controller.
Okay. Yeah, because at first I thought it was all manual aim, and then I realized like it auto shoots, kind of. Well, auto aims.
Yeah, if you use the right trigger all the time, yeah.
Yeah,
That's what I do.
that's seriously.
But yeah, it's a fun game.
Man,
It's really fun.
your sound just went up like crazy.
Whoa. Oh no. Hold on. There we go. It should be better.
Yeah, it was just weird. It went from like low to like bam, really high. But let's
I'm
talk
trying to wake
about.
you up, man.
I know. Let's talk about Monday Night Raw. Oh, not a very good
Oh
freaking
god.
show, man.
SmackDown was good though.
Yeah, SmackDown wasn't bad. The Raw thing that I didn't like is they took Sami Zayn out of commission, which makes me wonder what's going to happen to the tag titles. But then they put on a
Yeah.
6-man tag with Nakamura. I really thought like they should have done what they did old
Hmm.
school and just made it a handicap. Because Cody and Seth versus Judgment Day would have been pretty
Hmm.
freaking cool.
Yeah, I would have liked that.
And now
Made it
they've got
more
the whole
interesting too.
yeah, and now they got the whole Nakamura turning, and it makes me think like it's just another feud we're just gonna go over until we get to the next thing, I guess.
Yeah, and that's how it's just gonna keep on going. Everything that's happening on Raw just feels like it's just the same stuff with different people.
Yeah, it's just there's really nothing to like keep you engaged for 3 hours. It's just way too long.
Yeah,
And then they get
and
to these
they're
main
not going
events.
to 2 hours.
Yeah. And then these main events, kind of like you said, they just shuffle the people around, and I just feel like I'm watching the same thing every week.
Hmm. Raw isn't bad if they use it right. They have really good teams and stables on there, like Judgment Day. They have Rollins. They have Imperium. They have so many good wrestlers. It's just they don't use them properly.
Yeah, and then they try to like spread it out in a 3 hour show, whereas SmackDown, it's like they don't have to do that. So,
Mhm. Yeah, and SmackDown's more story based.
yeah, a lot more story based. Let's talk about Dynamite. The only reason I wanted to bring up Dynamite was because I thought Dynamite was actually a pretty solid show. I didn't like the main event, obviously, with the girls involved, but I thought the show
Yeah,
itself was pretty good.
I thought it was pretty cool. I liked the whole MJF stuff. I thought that was pretty fun.
Yeah. And
Um,
freaking RVD, man. I take everything I said. Like he was walking down the ramp kind of stiff the following week, but this week, man, he looked
yeah,
like old RVD.
Yeah, he's in great shape, man. And he's like his theme song always says, he's one of a kind.
Yeah, yeah. By the way, I love that they brought his Pantera theme song back from like the old ECW
Hmm
days, and I was like,
I, I
holy crap!
I thought they couldn't do that. I was
Yeah,
like, holy crap, man! Like, what
it's so crazy to
what's
think
happening?
back in the day how hard it was to get like music rights. So they like made songs that were like similar to like big
Hmm
songs, but they weren't actually the songs. And now it's like all those guys are using like that
Yeah,
original music, which is cool.
yeah, and I think that's really like interesting, and I think that's really, I don't know, cool. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I do like Edge's theme song because it sometimes changes. Like what happened with him versus Finn Balor at WrestleMania.
Oh yeah. They
You
used
remember?
I think it was South of
It
Heaven or something.
changed. Yeah, and I like when they do that every once in a while because everyone loves Edge's theme song and whatever, but it's cool to hear like real like full on original, just great class like rock inside of wrestling. I don't know. I remembered that in WrestleMania, and I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, they had a Samoa Joe like did an interview, and he said that he thought everybody using music and stuff was kind of
Mhm.
cool, but it wasn't necessary for everybody. Like, don't overdo it type thing.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because if once you overdo it, then it's not special.
Well, like Orange Cassidy's music, it sounds so soft and it really doesn't go with his
Yeah,
character. I feel like it's just like a song he likes or something, but it
yeah,
doesn't really like do anything for his.
yeah.
I don't know. Stuff like that just
Well,
doesn't really
everything
work.
about Orange Cassidy,
Yeah,
you hate.
that's true. That's true. But all right, so let's talk
Yeah.
about SmackDown since we're on wrestling right now. But Rey Mysterio won the freaking U.S. title. What do you
Yeah.
think about that?
I think it's good actually. Some people didn't like it because Theory should have won or whatever, but I think Theory just needs a revamp, get off TV for a little while. And Ray, is always gonna have a good match, so good United States champion on SmackDown right now.
I really thought they were gonna do Theory versus L.A. Knight.
Santos. Oh.
It's
Ah.
just I feel like they would have a really good match with each other, and LA Knight could have taken the win. But I mean, Rey
Mhm.
Mysterio, he's a legend, and he hasn't won any belts in a while,
Yeah.
so it's kind of a good win too.
Well, what they could do is make it LA Knight versus Ray and have like two big guys, and like popular wise, Ray's not that big, but like popularity wise, and just have LA Knight win and get even bigger win for LA Knight because he's beating a legend over here.
Yeah, and the other thing, what do you think about the whole Bobby Lashley and Street Profits?
I thought that was pretty cool. They've been hyping it up for however many years now. They've said that that could happen or whatever. I like it. I think it puts a new Hurt Business. I'm just sad that Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander ain't going to be a part of it.
Pretty much, yeah. But I mean, Street Profits, if
I understand.
anyone's going to be the tag team in the group, I mean,
Yeah,
they needed a revamp too.
yeah, yeah. I like the decision. I just Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin. I love that tag team. I don't know what it was. I just thought they were really really good as a tag team.
Yeah, they're solid. I'll give you that. What about AJ and
Only,
Cross?
only South. Oh man, great match. Some people gave Cross a lot of hate because there's like that one weird move that happened in like I think one of the
Yeah,
final moves
AJ
of
went
the
to go
match.
do that backflip.
Yeah,
You know,
mhm. And
inverted
it turned out
DDT or whatever.
wonky.
Yeah, he jumped or whatever.
Yeah,
He went behind Cross, but Cross is such a big guy that for him to bend backwards like that, like he kind of fell over.
yeah. It's
Yeah,
like well, yeah. But it was a really good match. It got the like one of the best matches of the night, if not the best match.
they actually gave it some
And Cross,
time.
yeah, that's what I liked about it. I like when the wrestlers also get tired in a match because then it puts more realism into it.
Yeah,
So when they're like trying to fight one another, but they're like tired, I felt like I saw some of that in the match. But Cross, he came out looking dominant, had a great match. I just hope I really wanted him to win. I don't know why they didn't have him win.
He's been taking some losses recently, and it sucks. But I did like the opening package they showed, where it was like showing like the
Yeah,
missiles going off, and he's like talking, doing a promo. I was like, man, that's pretty
yeah.
cool.
And a lot of people liked it. I thought it was very interesting, the fan reaction on this match, because some people still don't even know who Cross is.
Yeah.
But I'm like, should he go to AEW if he really like? I'm just saying this just to get better like writing or whatever. I'm like, he shouldn't even go to AEW because knowing how it's going to be, he's going to lose to Orange Cassidy. You
Oh,
know,
I know.
at
I
least
know.
with WWE, it's going to be AJ Styles.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like in his promo, he said something about AJ Styles having Gallows and Anderson or something. But he said something. I forget what he said,
Mm.
but he almost hinted at the fact that he's got people too, or like he's got a stable coming or something.
That's interesting, and that could give him a new character. I want Cross to just be top guy. You remember when he came back to WWE and beat down
Drew
Drew
McIntyre.
and Roman, or well, yeah, and
Drew, yeah.
hinted at Roman, but nothing happened after that.
Well,
You know, he beat Drew.
I said it during the draft, Alex. When they kept him on SmackDown, I felt like he was going to get lost in the shuffle because he can't be in the main event scene. Roman's like
Yeah,
got that freaking belt so tight. Like Cross ain't going to be in the main event spot.
yeah, I know that, and I know he's not going to beat Roman.
No.
I don't know. It's really, and when he was on Raw, you remember what they did to him, or at least what Vince did to him
Yeah,
with
yeah,
the
yeah.
whole.
The mask and
Oh my
stuff.
god.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah.
it's bad. But yeah, SmackDown was a really solid show. I didn't mind the Bloodline
Yeah.
stuff, but again, how long are they going to keep stretching this out? And then I didn't like Jimmy's excuse either. I thought that was really dumb.
Yeah. I the people thinking that it was for Roman Reigns, like that whole super kick and whatever was for Roman. No, that wasn't what it was for. People got mad at that, surprisingly. They were like, oh my god, he's the one that turned on Roman and now he's helping Roman. Yeah, I understand that, but that's more of just jealousy, you know? He's jealous of what happened, but I don't know. It was just very dumb. It
They
was
should
just
have played
dumb.
off
Just,
the jealousy storyline because I felt like when they didn't do that, and he's like, because we're not going to be the Usos
yeah.
anymore, and you being the champ and all. I'm like, I'm not buying it. Kind of like you said,
Yeah, and it's like, Jay, you had the best, or who turned? I
Jimmy.
forget which one.
Jimmy
Jimmy.
turned. Yeah.
Okay, Jimmy. I'm talking to you, Jimmy. Um, it's like, what are you doing? Have him beat Roman. He was right there, and then super kick him, or just play off like the next SmackDown. Being mad, like attack Jay. Whatever happens then, just attack Jay, because if you attack Jay, then it makes it more, you're mad. It's going to happen, Jay versus Jimmy sooner or later. So play off, not be like, man, I'm sorry. You cost him a title shot against the man that you want to beat. Like, what's going on?
Yeah. I know.
Just
That was the only thing.
SummerSlam in general.
Yeah.
It, yeah.
But SmackDown, I feel like just like Dynamite was a pretty solid show. I felt like SmackDown was a little bit better just because Dynamite's main event was just eh. But SmackDown's pretty
Yeah.
good, and you got the storyline. So
Yeah.
all right,
Yeah. I like the whole MJF thing with Adam Cole. I still say it's one of my favorite lines of all time in wrestling.
what
With
was that?
the whole Adam, you're so skinny and white and pale that if you were in the 80s, Hulk Hogan would have snorted you.
Yeah, that was good. I mean, they're still
I
teasing
was like,
that he's going to turn or something. And I'm telling you, when
yeah,
Roderick Strong came out and he made that plea, and then he left with Bennett and Matt Taven, the
yeah,
Kingdom, and Adam Cole sitting there
yeah,
like, what the hell? The first thing that hit my mind was that they're going to turn
yeah.
on freaking Cole, and MJF's going to be the leader of the Kingdom. That's
I
possible.
think that would be pretty cool.
And what better group
I
to
think
have like
what's
the
been
Kingdom with MJF?
yeah. I don't know. It never faction's not going to turn out right then because everything that MJF's a part of, the Pinnacle, whatever Chris Jericho had, it always crumbled. It
Now
always
I
crumbles because of MJF. He always screws everyone over.
You were speaking of the Pinnacle. I actually looked that up the other day because I was actually really interested to see why they even split up. And there's like a lot of conflicting reports. So you got Sean Spears who was saying like the group split up because,
Mhm.
things change in wrestling and they kind of just fell through the cracks and they didn't really have a direction for them. But then if you see
Yeah,
FTR's interview, they're basically saying that MJF was being selfish and wanted to be like the group surrounded around him instead of him and the group like just being like
yeah.
one in a sense.
So is this like real or is this WWE or wrestling?
Yeah.
Is this like I don't know.
It's
It's
hard.
so
I don't
weird.
know. Because when they do the interviews, they make it sound like it's real, but it's like, you never know.
You see, but I hear stuff about MJF, and people say he's a nice guy, but then there's some people that says like he sometimes gets too much into his character, where it shows, and it's like, man, like I love MJF. I think he's the best wrestler, best heel, but it's just like if he's gonna be like that out, he's just gonna be another CM Punk.
Yeah,
Can't
it's true.
control himself.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he's doing fine. I hope.
Yeah, it's one of those things, man. Like I don't mind like kind of what they're doing, and I like the whole teasing and stuff. But just every week,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I like MJF as a heel, and we're not getting
Yeah.
that. So I don't know. Let's talk about Collision though. Man, freaking awesome 6-man
Oh
tag
god.
match,
Yeah.
and we called that
I will give
Samoa
you
Joe
that. That
spot
was
too.
yeah. It was just a good physical. I don't know. It was just a great match.
I
I don't know what else to
loved the
say.
freaking end where the ref is distracted and Joe grabs Punk from the freaking audience, pulls him, and just chokes him out, and the referee can't see him because they're on the
Hmm.
ground. I was like, man, that is so smart.
Yeah. Yeah. And I like the whole match in itself. Like I like that part where Punk is sitting down and Malachi sitting down. They're
Yes,
just both
yes.
staring at one another. I thought that was like, what the crap? Like this is awesome.
And that crowd pop
Match
for the
wise, I
two
will
of
give it.
those guys.
Yeah. Yeah. The crowd was amazing.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It was crazy. Saturdays are really fun. I just think once they compete with college football, the ratings are just gonna dip and dip and dip more and more.
Yeah, it's going to be a hard one. My thing was,
Yeah.
with Collision, Alex, I feel like they always end the show in like a really good way that other wrestling shows just don't do. Like last week, I'm not a huge Ricky Starks fan, but the fact
Mhm.
that he whipped Ricky Steamboat after the match, there's always something either after the match or something to conclude to next week, which is
Makes it
really cool.
watchable next week.
Yeah,
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 see TV.
yeah. And dude, Samoa Joe and Punk, I feel like they're gonna have like a way better match than the tournament match because I mean it's for the belt and it's at Wembley.
All I say is give them time, give them a physical match, and like even make it like a hardcore or whatever match. Make it just bloody, intense, just like Ring of Honor. I love their match in Ring of Honor, or
Yeah.
however many they have, but they're just so freaking good.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
I
But
don't
yeah,
know.
that freaking 6-man tag was good. The only thing I didn't like about the show was the women's match, and
Hmm.
they didn't have the Bullet Club Gold. Like they weren't involved like at all. I mean, they did a little
Yeah,
promo or whatever, but
it was, but that was it.
yeah, I really like them as a group too. I wish they kind of added like a big guy or something to the group though, some muscle.
Yeah, and it's so sad that Rampage is nothing now. It's literally nothing. I don't even know what happened in Rampage. I don't
I
care
kind
what
of,
happened in
I
Rampage.
kind of wish I at least had watched last week's because they had that parking lot brawl, and man, it looked really freaking bloody. It was like best friends versus
You
Moxley and
know,
Claudia.
I will miss it because I don't give a crap about. Like, if you mention Rampage, I will not think of the show. I'll think of a literal Rampage because it's just so it was good when it first started, but I think that was just to get viewers in. You know, we had a new champion, we had all this cool stuff happening, and then once the show started being its own thing, it was like, well, it's just an hour of boring television, you know?
Yeah. I know, I know.
And it's not
Oh,
even good matches either.
speaking of match, I don't know if it's
But
ever going to
go.
happen, but Musk versus Zuckerberg.
Oh my god.
Twitter versus Facebook.
It's been confirmed. It's just Musk has a surgery or whatever that he has to get on his back
Yeah.
or something. I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
interesting.
Well, that was the thing is like nothing was
Um,
really official, and Zuckerberg keeps pushing for like a date or something. And
yeah,
Musk, I guess, can't give him a date. He still wants to do it, but he's like, I have to like see if I'm physically able. And then Zuckerberg's now kind of like
yeah,
backing out of it.
yeah. And then Musk haters are like, "Oh, well, he can't do it. He's just too scared." Man, that guy could eat Mark Zuckerberg. Musk is 10 times bigger than Zuckerberg. I don't think you know this. This is why we have weight divisions in like UFC and
Yeah.
boxing. It's because even what's his name? Musk even said it. He said that he has this move called the walrus where he just lays on you and just keeps you down. I was like, what the crap? Like, he's gonna kill Zuckerberg if they ever get in a match because he's just too big for Zuckerberg. No
So
matter how good of a wrestling match.
you've seen Zuckerberg's been doing MMA though, right?
Yeah, and I gave him that. I just think it's gonna be Butterbean versus Bruce Lee or whatever.
Bruce Lee.
I don't know. I'm not giving Zuckerberg that much credit. I'm just saying MMA versus a big guy, you know. Yeah, that's also going to be training too. It's not like Musk isn't going to train.
Well, Zuckerberg, like in his post, he said something like, he's not taking the sport seriously or something.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, was anybody though? Like, we kind of knew this was like a charity event type match. It's not like people are taking it too seriously.
Zuckerberg, I'm going to make you an offer. I think this would be a great offer. You versus Jake Paul. Both of you are hated. Heel versus heel. Both get good credit. Jake Paul wins. He takes over Facebook. If he loses, you get. Does Jake Paul own Prime? Which one owns Prime?
Maybe Logan.
I don't know. You take over Logan Paul's company. Has nothing to do with Jake, but
This is one of those things where Zuckerberg comes off a little arrogant,
yeah.
like he's like some kind of like real fighter. It's like, dude, you never had a real fight yet, and yeah, he's acting like it. It's like, I don't know. It's almost like Zuckerberg's trying to back
Can I
out, but
fight?
trying to like being like the big guy in the situation. Like, oh, I'm a legit fighter, but if he doesn't want to fight, whatever.
It's like that one Vine or whatever it was. Or the guy's like trying to fight him, and he's like, "Hold me back, hold me back." He's like, "I'm gonna fight you," and he's like asking his friends, like, "Come on, back, like, pull me back, man."
I like
It's
Elon
like,
Musk.
what
He
the
did that
crap?
interview or whatever, and he said he's gonna take a page out of WWE's playbook if he gets into this fight. And then Triple H responded too.
Well, Musk is so funny to me because he's not like a billionaire like freaking Zuckerberg. He's not very arrogant. Like, I just saw a meme of him, or he posted a meme the other day that he's running out of memes, so he's gonna send nudes. I'm like, what the crap?
That's
What
funny.
type of like man would do this? What type of billionaire would do this?
That's the thing. Like he has a good sense of humor, and he's like sarcastic, and people like just don't like that. They're like, he's a billionaire. He shouldn't be talking like making jokes and stuff. It's like, who cares?
Yeah. Yeah, he has his money, and then people ask him to do charity and whatever. It's like it's his money. He can do charity if he wants to. How about you do charity or whatever? It's like, don't tell someone to do what to do.
Well, it's weird, Alex,
I
too,
don't
that
know.
everyone used to love Elon Musk until he started talking politics.
Hmm.
Now he's got like a split
It's kind
reaction
of
from
like what
people.
happened to Trump.
Yeah, in a sense, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Because everyone liked Trump until he got into politics. It's like once you go into politics, it's like everything just snaps.
Well, yeah, because now you're going against other people's opposition. So, like, even when I think Trump was at WrestleMania 20, and they were talking about presidential, like hyping it up in a
Yeah,
sense, and people were clapping and stuff. And then, like, he
yeah,
did his show, The Apprentice, and people still
yeah.
seemed to like him. And yeah, like you said, as soon as he
Mm.
got in the political game, it's like, nah, wasn't happening. But then, also
It's
if you watch like the news outlets and stuff, they were so against him like from the beginning. So it was like obviously he's gonna get some
yeah,
hate now.
man. I think we're screwed. We're talking about politics. Oh crap.
Yeah, it is what it is. I mean, we've already said it before. Just kind of like a
Yeah.
centralist, though. Like, I kind of stand in the middle. I know both sides
Hmm.
have their points, but both sides have gone so far left, so far right. It's like,
Hmm.
it is
You
what it
can't
is.
go too extreme with everything.
Yeah.
I like Rogan's idea of the pod or on his podcast. It's just you know do what you need to do. I'm listening. I'm here for it. You know.
I like Joe Rogan, I think, made the analogy where he's like, listen, he's like, here's the problem with our country and democracy. He's like talking about the boat analogy, and he's like, if all these crew
Yeah.
members are on the boat and everyone has to take a vote as to who's going to run the ship, and then they like vote on some guy who doesn't even know how to run the ship. It's like, so now the ship's probably going to like sink or like go under because this guy doesn't know what he's doing. That's basically what's happening. This has
Hmm.
become like a popularity contest, and the right
Yeah.
guy for the job isn't really taking over. We're just kind of like putting people in that
Right.
position, like puppets.
Yeah. And I think that's the problem with what's going to happen to DeSantis because DeSantis seems like the right option. He's done a lot of good things. He made Florida a pretty good state. I will give him that. But he's just not as popular as people like Trump, as Biden, as
No,
whatever,
it's
because he
really like a
just hasn't made.
celebrity. It's a celebrity situation where like now
Yeah.
like it's really gonna be like, well, if you're popular, you can be president, but that doesn't mean you have to have a background in
Yeah.
politics or actually know what the hell you're doing.
Yeah. And I just think that's the problem with DeSantis. I think he's just very smart. He's not like Trump. Trump makes it dramatic, He's a
Yeah.
very dramatic guy.
Hmm.
But DeSantis is more like, let's get the job done. They're both on the same side, just different aspects of that side.
Yeah. 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 I saw one lady. They showed a video of it, and she was like talking about Jesus or something, and she goes, "Well, first is
Oh God.
Jesus, and then in second is Trump." I'm like, wow, he's like right hand man to Jesus now.
He's the chosen one.
That's how they act
But that's
sometimes. Yeah.
I just it's always those people though. It's like everyone that supports Trump that I see like on Twitter or whatever. It's always like these like 50 to 40-year-old women that's just like, I'm a very conserved or Christian. I'm from Georgia and I live view country style and I'm here to support Trump. And I'm like, okay, you support Trump. But then they say these crazy things, like you said, like Jesus and land Trump. I'm like, what the crap?
Praise
It's
Trump.
like, Trump, like, I'm not saying Trump's a great person, but Trump has done a lot of bad things too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everyone has. It's like, I don't know.
Well, if you think about it, kind of like what you just said, though, a lot of the older people vote for Trump because a lot of people have, the whole Christian mindset, a lot of older people. And then you got the younger generation who are kind of like split on religion. So they kind of don't really care. You know
Mhm.
what I'm saying? But the really
It's
religious
tradition
people, they
versus
see,
non-tradition.
yeah, they see Trump as like this holy man, so to speak.
Yeah,
So.
it's God dang Nixon that did it.
Oh, I know what I want to talk to you about. What about that Dolphins preseason game with the Falcons?
Yeah, that never happened. Let's go on to any other football game.
Well,
No,
I watched the highlights. We were competitive all the way up to the end, and then we had those turnovers.
no, I really don't care about the preseason games, but we had some really good players like Cam Smith. I'm just saying that
Mm-hmm.
guy was killing it. He made some mistakes, but I expected that from a rookie. He was really good. He defended, was very physical, very happy with him. And we just had just we looked good. We didn't really need a win. We got 3 points. I think it was just the receivers. I saw Thompson didn't do the best, but I did like Mike White.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. I just listen. I watched the highlights, so I didn't catch the full game, and I saw White make a lot of good throws. But when
Yeah.
he got into the red zone, he got in the red zone I think 3 times, and he just couldn't
Mhm.
make anything happen.
Yeah,
Now that
and we
could be
didn't
wide
score.
receivers not getting open, but it's
Yeah.
like you get there 3 times, you got to score at
Yeah.
least once.
Well, he threw it to a wide receiver. I think it was his tight end, and he threw it, and it was a perfect dime, absolutely great. And then the guy drops it. I'm like, man, we were right there. We had it. I don't know.
Yeah, but the first end zone spot, they he threw it, and I think he threw an interception in the end zone.
Yeah, I think he did that too. I think
Yeah,
you
yeah,
also need like but I think with a preseason game, you're also doing more like fourth down situations.
yeah.
So I felt like he didn't like have a chance to do more field goals.
Right, right. Yeah, they would have had like what 9 points guaranteed if they just would have did some field goals.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
and
it is what
then
it is.
including Skylar Thompson, it
Skylar
would have been
Thompson,
12. You know,
I'm disappointed, man. I was watching a lot of his plays, and he just holding to the ball way too long.
it's like a Baker Mayfield situation. He looks good in one game, and then he got like sucks in the other, and because he
Well,
holds on to the ball too long.
well, the other thing I was thinking too is he's playing with third string wide receivers and stuff. I'm thinking like maybe they're just not getting
Yeah,
open, or he's just not seeing any, of his option reads or something.
yeah.
Because you
I
don't
don't
want to
know.
just throw
He
it
didn't
just
look
to
the
throw
best.
it either.
Yeah, because well, in a preseason game, you kind of just don't care. Definitely in the first one, I really think, but I guess he is trying to get that backup position and trying to
Yeah.
make his name. But I don't know. I just feel like in a preseason game, even if I'm the third string, I'm gonna try to shoot my shot. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But it's a preseason game. It's not like I'm costing you guys anything. I'm just gonna go out and try to play as best as I can. You know,
But you remember last year's preseason game? He threw like 4 touchdowns in the first two or
he was
three
really good.
games. Like he was really good.
Yeah, and he almost beat the Bills, and that's a really good um, NFL team. So it's like he has
He's
skill.
Yeah, he
It's
has
just
potential for sure.
yeah, it's just how is he? And it's also like he has potential, but is it because Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle are just too dominant as a wide receiver group? And if he doesn't have that wide receiver group, he doesn't have any potential. You know, it's
Right,
like
right. Well, then you have the offensive line too. Like
uh,
they collapsed on him a lot last season when he could have made some plays.
yeah. Well, just ask Tua about that.
That's true. Yeah. Well, let's just hope to stays upright
Yeah. Well, I think Tua has a good head on his shoulders. At least I hope. Maybe after all the
for now.
concussion, he doesn't have a good head on his shoulder.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know. I think Tua's gonna be. I think he is going to get hit again, and he's going to get hurt. I just don't think it's gonna be as dramatic as like the whatever brain aneurysm that he had on the field. That was really scary. People
Yeah.
thought his hands broke. Like I remember you talking to me about it, and I was falling asleep, and you talked to me, and you said, "Oh my God, I think he's injured. Like it looks like his fingers broke." And I was like, "What? Like fingers? Like I know like if a finger breaks, but a fingers?
Yeah.
Like how many?
Yeah. It was just.
It's not very common."
That was a hard thing to watch. And then it's like every time he played a game after that, every time he got hit, I always cringed because I was like, man, is he not going to get up?
Yeah, there's a Houston Texans game where he got hit and his like back bent, and I was like, it's against the Texans. We were winning by like 3 scores. Why have him still in the game?
Yeah. I know. But yeah.
Tua
This
was really
season.
good until that San Fran game.
Yep.
I don't know. It's a struggle.
Even with everything that happened, he was still one of the top quarterbacks, and he had one of the best ratings in the league.
He had the best. I just don't know if it's just because he didn't play as much. But he was just he had like 3 interceptions before that San Fran game.
Yeah.
And then he had like 7, and I was like, that's not that bad compared to like 20 touchdowns that he have, I think.
Something
I don't
like
know.
that.
But it's like, that isn't that bad. Definitely for how long he played.
Yeah. So who's our running back this season? Is it still
Um, Mostert
Mostert?
and
Okay.
what is it
Gaskin.
called? Yeah, Mostert and Gaskin and Raheem Mostert and what is it called? What's that other guy's name? Jeff Wilson Jr. I think is we still have.
Okay.
And then we have Chase Edmonds, and then we have Raheem Mostert, I think.
Okay. What's up with Dalvin Cook?
Um,
Hasn't found a home yet, huh?
No, he went to Jets, and I guess he didn't like it. So yeah, I don't know.
I heard some report that he's
Yeah, it's
asking for too
interesting.
much money, and that's the problem.
Well, I don't think he's asking for too much. I just think compared like how the market's been for wide running backs, which has been a whole big thing, is that it's just not used as much anymore. It's not really cared for as much because they're not. What is it called? They're not as useful. And I'm going to say to the end, they are less productive now because they get hurt more. When back in the 80s, they would get a concussion and then play again. They would keep on playing. I'm not saying that's healthy. I'm just saying that's why they got so much money compared to nowadays. It's just people get hurt, and that's just how it goes.
Yeah. It's just crazy because
But I don't know.
the running back position always used to be, the big talk. And if you look at McCaffrey or some of those other guys, it still is. But then there's like the whole rest of the league where it's like they have running backs that are just kind of, I don't want to say mediocre. They just don't have that fire, I guess, that they used to have back in the day.
Yeah, I don't know. And it's interesting, and
It's
it's
just
just one
crazy
of those things.
too, Alex. All these quarterbacks getting all this like $100 million, like all these crazy freaking contracts, and then it's
300.
like you get wide receivers that are starting to get it now. You get defensive players who are starting to get it. It's just crazy. Like each team's gonna have like these huge freaking market caps. It's gonna have to keep
And it's
raising.
helping. It's helping America, I guess, because it's financial stuff. So hey, keep on to it. No, I don't know. It's one of those weird things. There's a whole thing with Taylor Swift right now that her concerts like boost local um, finances or whatever,
Right.
because she's just there and making so much money, and the concert itself is making money. So I'm like, wow, that's crazy to think about. Out of everyone, Taylor Swift has done more better things about finance and whatever and federal stuff than Joe Biden. It's like, what? That's crazy to think about.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like WrestleMania in that
Thank you.
regard. Like she's so popular that people come and visit,
Yeah.
and then it's like they make a bunch of money for like the local areas and stuff. So hey, if it works.
Thank you, Taylor. I'm going to be a Swiftie now.
Oh my god,
I don't know.
I wouldn't mind
But yeah,
Taylor
there's some
Swift, but
good games.
she gets involved in some stupid
Yeah,
things
go.
too.
Yeah. She and then her whole she had a documentary, and it's like I'm was born this conservative way and this and that, and I'm gonna stop my conservative side from being who I really am. And I'm like, okay, but why
What does
make a
that
whole freaking
entail?
documentary?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like conservative side isn't bad. It's
No.
just you have to find a good mix. It's like because of what the news portrays all the time, it's like, oh, if you're conservative, man, you go down to the under place. It's like what?
Yeah, it's
It's
just
like
weird.
yeah,
Well, it's the what's that?
it's weird.
Hold on. Carl Jung or whatever, and he said that women,
I don't know
guys
who
see it
you're
this way
talking
too,
about.
but it's the Madonna horror complex, where it's like a woman, she sees herself either very conservative, or she sees herself like very like loose. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? But a girl has to like find
Yeah,
balance, like you said.
so weird.
It's a
Madonna.
weird
Yeah.
psychology thing, but guys supposedly like when a guy is looking for a mate, if he finds a girl that's like too conservative, they call it the Madonna complex. It's kind of like he can't make love to her in a sense because he almost sees her as like a
Well,
motherly figure.
yeah.
So it's like really weird, but he has to find like a woman who's like equally balanced in a sense. You don't want her to be like super slutty or anything because then you can't trust her.
It's like that one, what is it called? How I Met Your Mother episode where Barney is dating someone like his mother. Have you ever
Yeah,
you
yeah, yeah,
remember
yeah.
that?
I remember.
And he's like dating someone like his mother, so it's like very disgusting. And once he realizes it, it's like he can't get out of his head. So it's like, oh my god,
But see
yeah,
that
I don't
that's
know.
exactly what we're
It
talking about. It's the psychology aspect. Once you start seeing
yeah.
a woman and she's playing like the motherly role, and I think that's why like a lot of relationships end after a couple has kids because then the woman starts playing the motherly
Hmm.
role and the guy doesn't really see her much as the you know what I'm saying, like the not like the
Hmm.
girlfriend role like she used to be. Now she's more the wife and
Yeah,
the mother.
the
So
fun, the honeymoon phase they call it,
yeah,
wears off.
it's over. Yeah, I hate that when I watch like Everybody Loves
Yeah,
Raymond or something. Like you can see it every time. Like the honeymoon phase is
yeah.
over. It's like, that's so
Yeah.
sad.
That's why I like King of Queens. They never wanted it to be what is it called? Them having kids and then it's just them about kids and whatever. It's like no, and I'm not saying they have a good relationship because god dang, but they are a couple and it's not about kids. And I'm not saying kids are bad, but it does make the show just about the kids at this point. Like take Jeffrey out to the ball game or whatever, and then they base the story off of that or whatever. It's like at least with King of Queens, they just kept it to being just them, and then they get their kids at the end. I don't know. It's nice.
Well, Alex, what's really weird too, and I showed Amber this, and she really caught on. It's weird, like when you watch the old shows, like Everybody Loves Raymond, King of Queens. I'm trying to think of the other ones,
That's
but
old.
well, you know what I'm saying. Like according to Jim, like people don't watch those types of shows
Yeah.
anymore. But the women in those shows, I wouldn't say according to
Yeah.
Jim as much, but the women are like usually really mean. And they get meaner as the seasons go on.
Yeah.
Like if you were to watch King of Queens, she's super nice in like the
Yeah.
first season or two, and then she gets like
Yeah.
physically abusive. Like she pinches him, she slaps him, like all types of. I'm like, holy crap, dude. Even Amber
It's
was
like
like, man, these
I
girls are
remember.
crazy.
Yeah, I remember a scene in King of Queens, and she tries to, or like Purple Nurple, um, Doug,
Yeah,
and he,
yeah,
he feels nothing, and he's like, it's just scar tissue at this
yeah,
point.
yeah,
I'm like, oh, that's great.
yeah. Yeah,
But
that's
no,
great.
it's like, what is it called? It's just like, I think it's because of Arthur. He changes everyone. Arthur
Yeah.
changes everyone.
Well, it kind of takes me back to I think there was a guy who was working for Nickelodeon or something at the time, and he was like, "It's really screwed up." He's like, "I had to leave my position because they were
Hmm.
telling me that I needed to write the kids to be like very like annoying, but also like not listen to their
Outlandish.
parents, and then like
Oh,
they were like the focal point. And he
yeah,
goes, but man, he's like, it's really bad because kids are watching this and they're just like kind of like repeating what they're watching. And he's like, we
yeah.
should be making more
I
shows
still
like
think,
Full House where they're at
yeah,
least learning something in the end or something. But these kids are just like out of control, radical, and like
yeah.
don't listen to their parents.
Full House is a great show for kids too, because I know that's on Nickelodeon, but man, that show was really bad for a teenager to watch. They were skipping school sometimes. They were doing all this, and they would all be like, "Oh man, I'm sorry," and it's like, "I forgive you," and then it ends. That's not how life works. You get grounded, and then you don't do it again.
Yeah,
Is that how it goes?
it's just
And then
crazy,
there's
man.
this whole stereotype. People are getting mad at men like Doug, or even like Peter Griffin. Think about that, where they're dumb, but they have this really smoking wife, and they say that it's like a false narrative to give a man, like you could be an idiot and just still get a nice wife. I'm like, man, I'm screwed then. It gave me at least a little bit of hope.
Well, I don't believe that at all because even the comedian guy, I forget Bobby Lee, I
Because you
think
have
he's
one.
well, Bobby
Oh,
Lee.
Bobby Lee.
Well, I don't think he's with this
Wow, I
girl
love
anymore,
Bobby
like
Lee.
you said, but he picked up a freaking hot girl, and
No,
he's just a comedian. Like some girls, they just want a nice guy or a guy who's funny, and they don't really care so much about like, oh, how much muscles he has and stuff. Like some girls do, don't get me wrong, but there's girls out there that don't
man.
care, and they just want a guy they get along with.
Did you know Bobby Lee was very good at wrestling?
No,
Like traditional wrestling though. He
right,
was
like
a good
college and shit.
wrestler, I guess, in high school.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Whoa. You're not allowed to say that on YouTube. Whoa.
What
Going a
schnit?
little bit crazy. Oh, yeah, yeah,
Schnitzels?
sure.
I said schnitzels.
What's that one wrestler's name? Um oh
Brian
my gosh, it was
Schnitzels.
so unneeded. What is going on?
He said I couldn't use the word, so I don't know what's going on anymore.
We're going PG-13, kids.
Yeah, I don't
No,
know.
but I don't know. It's a little bit interesting.
Yeah, it's just weird. The writing has really changed. I don't really watch like regular TV shows anymore. Like I think the last one I watched was like Modern Family, you know, those kind of shows, sitcoms or whatever.
Yeah.
But even the
There's a
dad
good
and
one. What is it called?
in
Yeah,
Modern
Phil Dunphy.
Family, like he's funny and stuff, but the way his like wife and some of them treat him sometimes, I'm like, ugh. It's
Yeah, and
just
he loves his family, and he just gets a bunch of crap for it. And I'm like, he's a good father. At least he's like, you know,
remember the
trying to
book.
spend time with everyone.
Remember the
And that.
book he
Oh
wrote.
yeah, the book. Yeah, it's so good. It's like if life gives you a lemon, make limeade, and it's like because life will be like, what? It's like what the crap? You
Yeah,
on
I like
drugs?
that. That was great.
It's like Barney's book. What is it called? Barney Stinson's.
I forget, but I remember that he had a book too.
Yeah, and it's how he gets all the women. And then
Yeah,
there's what is it called? I'm so mad that I don't know it. But yeah, I don't know. It's just like people try to make everything look bad nowadays.
isn't it funny that he's like a womanizer type guy, and yet he's actually gay in real life?
Yeah, I
That
thought that
just
was the
that just goes to show like people should just leave certain
yeah,
parts alone because you know what I'm saying? Like, is there a straight guy out there right now? And he's like, oh my god, I
yeah,
should have gave that part to a straight guy. Like, no, like he played that role perfect. Like that's what
yeah.
acting is, you know.
Modern Family. What is it called? There's the what is it called? That Cam guy, the big guy in that gay relationship. He's
Oh yeah,
straight in real life, so I'm like,
yeah.
okay.
He's like a huge
So
football
at
fan,
least
and
you're,
yeah,
yeah. And so I'm like, okay, so he's straight. That's just acting. But then it gets to a point when they try to do historical crap, and then they give it to like a black actor or whatever. I'm like, well, this isn't very historical because that's not what happened. People need to remember acting is different than acting in a historical role, because in history you're trying to portray something that really happened. You know, it's
Wasn't
just
it
I don't know.
Cleopatra or something that just recently came out, and the people from Egypt were like
Yeah,
super upset because it wasn't like an Egyptian person playing
yeah.
Cleopatra?
Yeah, and then it was a like I don't know. It was just so weird to me. And then there was a whole thing on Twitter, whatever social media site, and they were like Robert Downey Jr. as Martin Luther King. And it's like, oh god, that's great.
It's
Uh,
so stupid because it really kills like what you can do in movies now. Like you should be able to do whatever the hell you want. Like
mhm.
when Robert Downey Jr. was in Tropical
Yeah.
Thunder and he was blackface or whatever, like people thought that was
Mhm.
funny, but now it's like you can't do that. It's like it's just so
Yeah, as long
stupid.
as
Let people do what they want. Like it's just
as
funny.
yeah. Yeah, as long as it's funny and not like trying to bash someone, then it's
Yeah,
perfectly fine to do whatever.
if your whole intent is to just like be like a nuisance about the whole situation, I understand. But if it's like a comedic role, like White Chicks or whatever, it's like just let it freaking go. There's people out there that love that stuff and still quote it to this day. You know,
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good movie to watch. Um But yeah, I don't know. Oh, the playbook. That's the name.
the
I
playbook.
remember now.
Yeah, that's right. There's ways to pick up chicks and stuff. It was great.
I love the episode where it's like he loses, or like you think he loses, and like he tries to do all this stuff from the playbook, and they're like, "Oh, we got you," and then it's like that whole entire plan was the playbook or like a
Yeah,
story. Like
yeah.
he
That
tries to
was
get
good.
the girl, it doesn't work out, and then he like makes it all sympathetic, and then he takes the girl out or whatever, and then it's like a whole happy situation. It's like, what?
My God.
uh,
Man,
it's a
it's
good episode.
me and Amber were watching True Life last night. It was I don't know if you know what that is, like an
Don't know what that is.
MTV. It's an MTV like show where they used to like follow people around. It was like real life based stuff though. Like so this episode, it was like two girls they were following, and they live different parts of like the United States
Yeah.
or whatever. But the two girls, they like thought they were so ugly, like themselves, and that one of the girls was like a model, Alex. So she's like, they like my body, but they don't like my face. So
Hmm.
these two girls want to get surgeries and all this stuff. And I just kept thinking back, like, imagine back in the day when like we're all like hunters and like we're looking for food and the wife is like at
Hmm.
home, just kind of like waiting and stuff. Like they don't have time to think about stupid stuff like
Hmm.
this. I feel like so many people are so bored now. Like
Yeah.
they overthink every these girl Alex, one of these girls, she was like, I don't know, she was like an 8 or 9. Like she was really hot, but like she's looking in the mirror and she's got like a big nose, I guess, in her view. So she's like, oh my God, like I have to fix
Hmm.
that. She gets the new nose and it's still not enough. It's like, oh my God.
It's like, what do you want?
This
What
is
are
what
you gonna
happens when
do
you're
at the end of
bored.
the day?
Too much time
Yeah.
on your
Well,
hands.
no, this is what happens when you have a freaking device in front of your face 24/7 and seeing how people look this way and that way.
The
That's why I
girl
don't like
was
the whole plastic surgery thing.
the girl looked Egyptian and she had like really like dark brown hair and she's looking at like
Mhm.
one of the girls, like a Baywatch girl with blonde hair and big boobs or whatever, and I'm like, she wants to
Oh
look
my god.
like that. It's like, oh my God, like you got to be realistic with yourself. You're born into this body. You can't just like
It's
totally
like
360.
a phase, like I want to be a superhero or whatever. I want to be Batman. And then with some stuff like I'm not going to talk too heavily into this because I think YouTube might shut us down for this, but with transgenderism, it's like you get into this moment and then you take this pill and then you think that you could just, if you don't want to be a woman, let's say you're a male biologically and you turn into a woman, you take this pill to become a woman, and then you're like, well, I don't really want to be a woman anymore. You can't change that anymore. It's not like it's reversible. It's just, it's crazy to me. It's just like people need like need to be mentally right to do these crazy things. It's
Yeah.
gonna alter their life.
Well, for me,
But
it's one of those situations where it's like, listen, if you have a kid and the kid wants to transition or whatever, I feel like there needs to be a process. It shouldn't
Mhm,
just be like, yeah, let's do it. Because
mhm,
kids shouldn't be making like big life decisions like that. You don't want your kid being like 20, 30, growing up or whatever, and then they're like, oh, now I want to go
mhm.
back.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know what else to say there. Yeah, and
But
then it's also to the point like just like stop trying to make this way. They're trying at this point, like Disney, let's per se. They're doing this whole transgenderism and like gay and whatever. They have a gay agenda, whatever. And it's like, stop trying to make these kids turn gay. Stop trying to make these kids see all this crap, because it's not like I'm over here saying, yeah, I'm straight and you should be straight too. I'm just saying, just have them, if they're really going to be their true self, let them be their true self. It's not like they live horrible lives. We're living in America. It's a beautiful country. I don't know. It's
I
like
just
we're
don't
not
like
living in.
when they do these LGBTQ
Yep.
characters. I don't have a problem with that. I really
Yeah.
don't. But it's when they make like their whole personality is
Yeah.
just based off that. It's like, really? That's all there is? Like I
Hmm.
know there's more depth to the person. That can't
That
just be it.
That Bros movie. Have you seen that?
No, I saw the trailer though.
The Yeah, it's like the first movie with all gays. Even the background characters are gay. Even the directors are gay. And this director's a man and has a wife. How is he gay? It's like, I don't know. It's so weird. But
Well, yeah, and then that
um,
movie comes out and it didn't do very
yeah,
good, and then they started bashing all the straight people and stuff. They were like, "Oh, well, that's why it didn't do
it's
good
like, you're
because
not gay enough.
it's like, come on, like
Yeah,
give it up already."
yeah. Hey, do you know this experiment or that happened with mice? It's called Universe 25.
No, tell me about it.
Okay, so 1968, they came up with this whole thing that that they wanted to see how life worked. So they put a bunch of mice into the situation. They fed them. They did all this, and they had this situation through 1968 to 1973. So that's a good amount of time. That's 5 years,
Yeah,
um, to do all this. So throughout time, the mice. I think I told you a little bit about this, but the mice or the men mice, the male mice, turned to be more feminine, were a little bit less active, and were a little bit scared of the more feminine. But the females, whatever, they turned into this manly role, but never wanted to reproduce because they were like, well, the mice were just didn't want that. And this is all mice stuff happening.
the mice.
So throughout time, females turned into men and whatever. So they stopped reproducing and all this, and so collapse happened. And so back in the 70s, this wasn't even an issue. People were reproducing at a high rate, whatever. But nowadays, it's kind of like that, where men are becoming this female type role. With this one guy I watched, and he's like eating all this food, and then he cries, and then he's like gay at the same time, and telling his boyfriend, "Yo, this and that and this and all this," and I'm like, that's a feminine role as a man.
Yeah.
And the females nowadays are trying to be this girl boss and all this and that, and priestesses are happening, and I'm like, well, they're trying to be men. So it's like, you're not trying to be better, you're just trying to act like this man. Like, when they act very dominant or whatever, they're acting like a man, because that's the only thing that's is been dominant throughout history. So it's kind of interesting to see how the mice and humanity's been working, and it could show you that we're on the brink of collapse.
Well, we've already kind of talked about it before, but you know how they say pride before the fall, and that's everything everybody wants to talk about is
Hmm.
pride, 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 which is fine, whatever. But at the end of the day, when you look at it,
Yeah.
if you look at Rome, for
Hmm.
instance, and we had talked about this, I think, but
Yes.
Rome
Yeah.
had gotten to a point that where they were
Yeah.
overindulgent. They were getting everything from India and stuff, the trade markets. And then they had a
Mm-hmm.
section in Rome that was,
Mm-hmm.
mainly, gay fucking guys or whatever. And then it was just like a big area
Mm-hmm.
on, I think it was like the West Bank or something of Rome. And then they got invaded. And that's the first place they invaded
Mm-hmm.
when they, were attacking Rome,
Mm-hmm.
is because, there's not, they figured, a lot of these guys are kind of
Yeah.
like feminine. We can just take them over real easily. It wouldn't be a big deal.
And
And I mean, I'm not saying that's what's happening now, but there's definitely like you can see like what you're saying, where the women are kind of like taking on more of a manlier role. They're working. You got a lot of guys who sit at home and play video games. They don't even have jobs,
yeah.
and it's like,
Yeah.
man, it's not
Well,
good.
that is their job.
And then you do have the women that are like, all right, well, I can have kids, but I'm gonna go work like a full time whatever, and that shouldn't be necessary. I mean, a woman, if she
Mm-hmm.
wants to have kids, she should be able to stay home
Mm-hmm.
and get paid or something like
We
that. But
can't nowadays.
no,
We
no.
can't nowadays because what is it called? It's just too hard to not live in a two two working people environment now. You
Yeah,
have to have your partner to work with you,
yeah.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
and it sucks because it's just it's like once like everything started like because back in the 70s, let's per se, we it was right before everything crazy started happening. The 80s were about to happen, great rock and roll music, great stuff. But also in the 80s, it started getting a little bit like, okay, what if we change the status quo? And it's just interesting how, like the 90s and stuff, they thought they were making a big impact and whatever. And they thought that they were going to do this crazy stuff with emo and rebels and, I'm going to smoke drugs and do all this, whatever. And
Smoke
nowadays, it's
drugs.
yeah, I don't know.
I got
It's like that one Saved by the Bell episode where they're like, "Don't do drugs." No, um, but it's like it's just they try to go against the status quo, and then once it happens, look at where we're at now with this generation that's kind of messed up and has been being taught by these per se rebels. Um, and now they're trying to change the status quo, and then their kids are going to try to change the status quo. So it's just going to keep on going until someone's like, "Hey, let's stop." Or how about, "Hey, we get a president in here that tries to change up stuff or tries to change up," but it gets to a point where are we too far down this rabbit hole? This has been happening for 50 years now, and we're getting to a point where it's like, are we too far down?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I don't know. We're really on a tipping point. And I've said this to Amber. It's
Mhm.
almost like we have. All right, so you got like the LGBTQ, you've got a lot of like the, that community, but
Yeah.
then you also have religion. And you've got like this
Hmm.
backlash between both groups. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's really
Hmm.
where the fight is right now. And if you look at politics, that's kind of where the fight is too.
Hmm.
So
It's yeah,
people
it's
have to
interesting.
kind of decide like which route are we going, because right now, I mean, they're clashing a lot.
Hmm. Yeah, very badly. And it's like I saw a funny meme. It's like PETA. They were like, if you eat um, ice cream or dairy ice cream, then you're a very bad fascist, whatever crap. And Joe Biden eats ice cream, dairy ice cream. And it's like, so are you saying that? It's like they don't like they try to support one another, but then they get too far into it. So then they start getting mad at one another. So it's like a
Yeah,
civil war. It's
yeah,
like the LGBTQ versus the plus. It's like so weird to me. It's like it's a civil war inside of a group. And then you have another group that's trying to be like the Democrats or liberals, and then you have the right, and then it's like a box is no longer a box, but now like a sphere or whatever. It's just crazy. It's like squiggly lines. It's like a woman's conversation. It's like a squiggly line. I don't know. It's so weird to me.
well, it takes me back to what Alan Watts said about tolerance. And he's like, be careful of groups that are trying to be
Hmm.
more tolerant than the other, because then it becomes a game of who's more tolerant. And
Hmm.
then you're going to get people that are like, well, I'm tolerant of just like radical stuff because they want to seem like they're virtuous in a
Yeah.
sense, and that gets really dangerous.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what's
And
happening.
it's not just, yeah, it's crazy to me. And Alan Watts, man, that man's a genius. Rest in peace, man. God dang, what a genius! Because it's crazy how, like, when he was saying that stuff, you would have thought of him as being, maybe at the time, a little bit crazy, maybe a little bit too much of a hippie at the time. But nowadays, it's like, well, that's what's happening. We didn't listen to him, so now everything's like going downwards. If we just listened to him, or even like Jordan Peterson, if we would just listen to Peterson and what he said and like the rules of life, I think people would be a lot more productive and stop being lazy.
Well, I thought it was funny that like one of his first rules or whatever is like clean your room, and then there was like people like getting upset about that. It's like, wow, like you can't clean your
Like,
room. Like it's pretty common sense, and they're just like kind of like
yeah.
lashing out against it.
Yeah, and I read the book and it was genius because it was. I was like, okay, you're telling me to clean my room. That's too much for me for you to ask. But once I started reading it, it's like it's really interesting because it's like it's not just cleaning your room, and people are gonna think this is idiotic or whatever crap. But it's about keeping that fundamental, like I gotta do this, and creating a habit for yourself. And once the habit changes, then that's a whole discussion inside of itself. But creating a habit is good because then you do it and then you become more productive. You do
And
that and then you do this and then yeah. Go
he
on.
said that was really important for men to be productive because it gave
Mm-hmm.
us a sense of accomplishment. When a guy's really not doing much, that's when he starts to
Mm-hmm.
get into that slumber and he starts like doing
Mm-hmm.
absolutely nothing. He looks like a deadbeat. Like he's
Mm-hmm.
not, and all his
That's what they
passion and stuff
do
is
in the
just dead.
military.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they do that in the military. They what is it? I think they only have beds at the time, so they clean their bed and then they do the dishes or whatever, just whatever's there. And they're very, like, if you ever see a military person, they're always very, they can do this and that and this and that, and they're very clean with what they do because of it. And it's good to have that because then it's like, well, they're being productive, they're not like being lazy, they're doing what they need to do, all that stuff.
Well, for me, a good example too. I was playing Rocket League the other day, and I remember thinking like how weird it was when I first played Rocket League. It was awful, right? And then you get a little bit better, and the more you keep
Yeah.
playing it, you actually become almost like, I wouldn't say an expert, but you become really freaking good. You know all the angles, you know how to hit the ball, whatever. But that in of
Yeah.
itself, just being able to get from a very baby stage at something and get very good at something, like your self
Hmm.
confidence, your self worth, like everything changes, and then you become more engaged in the game. You're having more fun. I think that's just life. Like we always
Yeah.
kind of put ourselves down as humans, and then we
Mhm.
kind of feel like deadbeats. But then once you start accomplishing stuff, you're like, "Holy crap! What else can I do?" And that's, I think, where
You're not
humans
hope.
are like, we're at a stalemate right now. People need to really start doing that more,
Yeah.
just
You're not
accomplishing
hoping with
stuff.
the video games as the symbolism here.
But I mean, it's a stepping
But
stone.
no,
I mean, once you
yeah,
start getting that feeling, you start going, okay, maybe I can do this too.
yeah. And it's like people blame one another for whatever it is. It's like take responsibility for what you need to do. Take responsibility for what's happening. Like they're trying to blame this whole wildfire thing. So what's happening in
Oh, I
Hawaii and
know.
whatever
Yeah,
crap.
yeah, yeah. Of course, they're gonna
And they're
blame
trying to
somebody.
blame it. Yeah, and they're trying to blame it on what's his name? Trump. And I'm like, what the crap? He's
Oh my god.
I saw a funny meme about it. I was like, okay, this is a joke and whatever. But then I saw some people actually agreeing, like, yeah, that's for sure. That's what happened. And people are like trying to figure out what's happening with it. And I'm like, okay, this is a very sad situation. Nothing to joke about. But this is just funny to me that you're just trying to blame it on someone, which I do believe someone probably is at the cause of this, whether or not it's intentional or unintentional. I don't believe that it's Trump or whatever because you don't like the person. Take responsibility and just realize that it's not the bad guy in your situation, and try to figure out who it really is. Like, I don't know.
Now,
People
Alex,
just
this
like to
takes me
blame.
back to the story of Adam and Eve. And, Eve eats the apple, and then God asks Adam, like, what the hell happened, right? And Adam blames freaking Eve. And then Eve blames the snake. And then the snake just winks at God. Because at the end of the day, everyone's just blaming someone else. When in fact, you have free will. You can make that decision yourself. But instead, we all want to just
Mhm.
put the blame on something else. It's a classic freaking story, and
Goddamn
we do it
women.
all the time. Oh, so here's another
Yeah.
thing. I wanted to run
Uh,
this past you real quick. I've been doing,
no.
I read different passages and stuff every so often. But
Uh,
all right, so I'm gonna tell you
yeah.
this part, and I just want to see if you catch it. Okay. All right. So
No,
you
don't
got
do this to me. I'm not good with this.
no,
I'm
just
not
hear
gonna
me
catch it
out.
now.
All right. So Adam, he's made
Okay.
first, right? And then God tells Adam, "Hey, don't eat from that
Yeah.
tree. Don't eat the forbidden fruit, the tree of good and evil." Right. So then God makes
Yeah.
Eve. But God doesn't tell Eve those
Yeah.
instructions. Adam has to tell Eve. He goes, listen, this is what God told me about
Yeah.
that tree. So then Eve goes, she's curious. And keep in mind, the only reason she's curious is because she wants knowledge, because that's what the tree is, the tree of knowledge.
Mhm.
So she goes over, she eats from the tree or whatever, and then she gives some to Adam. And it says that her eyes were opened because it said
Mhm.
that God had told Adam that if you eat from the tree, you'll surely die, right? But then the snake
Mhm.
tells her, "You won't die. In fact, you'll become more like gods." So here's the interesting part, Alex. So after all this happens, it says that
Yeah.
Eve eats the freaking forbidden fruit, and then her eyes were opened. So from that analogy, what I took from it was
Yeah.
God was actually lying because He told them that if you eat the apple or you eat the fruit, you'll die. And she didn't die. She actually ate it, and the snake was actually telling the truth because the next passage after she eats it is that God said, "Oh my God, they have become like us, like gods." And that's exactly what the snake said. But then He punishes the snake. So it makes me think.
Ah.
So think about this. So that means that God had lied to Adam. Adam tells Eve this,
Mhm.
BS story. She goes and eats it, and then she eats the apple or whatever it is. Her eyes open up, and from that, it makes me think maybe she thought like, "Oh my God, God lied," and that was the first time like humans understood what lying was.
Mhm. Interesting. Well,
Think about it.
when
If
I
me and
always
you are the
hear,
first humans on Earth, and we're just walking the Earth, and we don't know what a
yeah,
lie is, and one of us discovers it and can use it against the other person, that's a lot of power.
yeah, yeah. Whenever I see Adam and Eve, I always see it as like the difference between man and woman. But that's interesting because it is a different take on it. Most people think, well, her eyes were open because she was poisoned or whatever. But that's interesting to think about. That's a different take on what. And I don't think God was per se lying. I think it's a different term that I would use for that. But I know what you're meaning with that because I think that is an interesting assumption because it could definitely have happened, But
So then
it's so weird to me.
I read the other day that there's a book called The Apocalypse of Adam or something like that. It's like a lost book that they found. And he's basically in the book talking
Mm-hmm.
about how God is actually evil and he turned us all into slaves. And that's why we have to work the ground and stuff like that, like farming and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So Adam is basically
Well,
telling his son Seth and all these kids that he had, like, listen, God is
uh
actually evil, and if you want to stay away from like
uh
his craziness, you're gonna have to like walk in the shadows almost.
yeah, that's
That's crazy.
interesting. I always found it weird, and I'm not saying this is what happens, but I always found it weird that if the Bible, and I'm not trying to be mean or whatever, I'm just interested. What if the Bible was just something, just like wrote, like Harry Potter per se, just wrote out of curiosity and whatever, and just was wrote by a random dude. And now we worship this whole thing. Like, we just worship this whole. talk and whatever. It's just weird to think about. Like, I don't know.
Well, the
It's
Bible
so
in of
creepy.
itself is very interesting in the sense that it tells you like,
Mhm.
listen, you can't have any other gods before me, which is basically saying that God is jealous.
Mhm.
And then it's also like telling us like all these different rules and all
Yeah.
these different things about how God will be upset, like if you do this, if you do that. At the same, I
Hmm.
mean, if you're a Christian, even if you're slightly a Christian or you've been told these stories in the back of your mind, you're like, if it's true, you know what I'm saying? So like all these people are like walking on eggshells, not
Hmm.
knowing. But that's kind of what religion does to you.
Yeah.
It stops you from doing something you would otherwise do
Yeah.
because now you think there's someone in the sky watching you, basically.
Yeah. And I think religion itself is interesting. I think like, the way that they morally say stuff about God, it's like so hard to say that he is doing this or doing that. And it's like, well, I want to know who wrote it because how do you know God feels this way? Like,
Like,
how do
yeah,
you
yeah.
know God is this way or that way? I understand you can assume to that, but no one really knows because he's the God, you know. So it's just an interesting. That's why I can't get too far into it because I don't know who wrote it. I don't know what it's coming from, and I don't know what it's about. I just say, you got if you believe in it, you believe in it. Good for you. If you don't, good for you.
Well,
Just
here's something
have a
for
good.
you. When,
Okay.
we've talked about it too, that God might be another word for mind in the Bible. Like, it's talking about your brain. Because it
Yeah.
even says that, I forget who
Yeah.
says it, Jacob or somebody, where he's like, I've seen God face to face and he lives in pineal, which is talking about your pineal gland, which is the very center of your brain. And what's also interesting is
Nice.
if that's true, then that means when Adam is talking about God told him, what he's actually saying is that
Uh,
himself, he made up the lie. That would mean that Adam actually lied to Eve so that
mm.
Eve would eat the fruit.
Oh
You see what I'm saying?
man,
Because
maybe
now
we
you're
should kill
talking.
all men. Feminist, feminist.
No, it's just
Men was bad from the start.
weird stuff that I've read. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
just hard to interpret
Now this
anything.
is all. Yeah, this is all just interpreting crap. But yeah, I don't know. It's just weird.
Yeah, it is weird.
But
But the whole lying thing, that makes a
it's
lot of
so.
sense to me too, because at some point,
Yeah.
we got the whole phrase the father of lies. So at some point, someone had to lie, and it became a big deal.
Yeah. It was me. I went back in time. That's something that always creeps me out. Like if I ever went into like back in time, you know where I would first go?
But,
To the beginning of humanity. I would wonder if even if I die from it, I would always wonder what happened in the beginning of humanity. How did it all start? I might see an animal of a monkey or hump another giraffe or whatever, and humanity became whatever. And that could be how humanity started. I just want to know where it came from, and it's so hard because then I can't really fully be like, oh, where like what time do I go to? So first you would have to start at BC or whatever, and then or not BC, yeah, whatever
before
time or
Christ, yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I'm gonna build it. I don't know how it's gonna work. It will be voice automated, hopefully. But it's just so weird to me. Like, where would you go first if you had a freaking time machine? Because there's so many things that you want to be answered.
Yeah.
But uh, and then how does time work after that? Because then if you go with Adam and Eve, does that mean it's Adam, Eve, and Alex? He's just there.
And Alex.
It's like I'm like the third wheel. It's like, yeah, you guys go do whatever you want. I'm gonna. I have another apple tree over here.
There's
It's
not
like,
enough,
done.
there's not enough garden here for there to be a third. Kick you out.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm the first. What is it called? Jewish or person. I'm like, I don't believe in Christ, and it's like Christ hasn't believed or isn't even a thing yet. It's like, yeah, well, you never even thought about it, now did you? I'm like 10 times smarter than them. I know exactly what's about to happen.
Well, that's what's so
I don't
great
know.
too is like Jesus like walking the earth, and then like at some point he's like, you know what? I'm the son of God, and then like people are walking around like, no, you're not. He's like, yes, I am. They're like, maybe he is.
I always thought Jesus could be a magician too. Like, think about it. He
That's
goes
true.
onto, like, he has like a twin brother, let's say, and people just see them randomly, and he's like, dude, you go over there on the east side, I'll go on the west side, and we just freak the people out. I'm like, that would be so genius. What if, like, instead of, like, he was standing on something instead of water, and, like, he had water just slightly over? What if he was just, like, 10 times smarter than everyone?
It's
I don't
very
know.
possible. So, Alex, here's another thing. So, like,
Yeah.
Freemasons believe that God is kind of like two gods in a sense. Like, he's because even in the Bible, he
Mm,
says, I am a just, but I can also be wrathful. I created good, I also created evil. So, that means, like, if there is a devil or something, he created
yeah.
it on purpose. But not only that, but think about this from the Adam and Eve story. Why would God purposely put a tree right there in the garden, telling people not to eat it, knowing that they're going to? What does that tell you?
I know. I know. I know. To teach people.
To
Not
obey.
allowed. To obey.
I mean, that's really what the story comes down to. God wants you to obey, but if God's all knowing,
Yeah.
he already knew that we weren't going to, which is weird.
This is such a crazy topic. Can we just go back onto wrestling? How did we go back, go from wrestling to the meaning of life?
I don't know. All right. Well, there is something I want to talk to you about. You saw the new Evil Dead movie, right?
Yeah. Oh my. Are we going to turn this into the demons and God? No, I
Oh,
understand what you're saying with God. It's just very interesting. I feel like we're gonna have to go to Twitter after this because YouTube ain't gonna like it.
I don't know. This is just stuff I think about sometimes, man.
It's crazy. I agree with some things that you say. It's just our puny human minds can't fully understand it. Our immortal minds can't understand it.
I hated when I used to go to church, Alex. I would ask our preacher, his name is JR, and he's like a former pimp. No, but he was like, he would tell me all the time, like, if you have questions, ask me. I would ask him all these kinds of questions because I'd read the Bible and I'd be like, that doesn't quite make sense to me. And I'd ask him these things and he'd be like, only God knows, you know? Like, so basically, I'm not going to get answers till I'm dead. Like, that's
Yeah.
not cool.
Even if, well, what if you're not a good person? Just saying. Um,
Well, yeah. Yeah.
and then think about all the Christ or the Christians, all the priests that were back in the '80s, and they were like doing all these kids and whatever, and all this crazy stuff. Now we're really gonna get out of YouTube. Um, think about that. It's like I don't know. It's just so weird to me. Like, yes, very holy, but very unholy when I don't know. It's like, who am I supposed to listen to here?
I, I don't know. I really don't know. I sometimes I feel like religion was just created to keep people in line, and that's it. And if we overthink it, it's gonna kill the system.
Yeah, I think we are killing. What if we're just in the Matrix? We're in the
Well,
Matrix, all done. If we're a bunch of zeros, ones, and zeros and ones, at least, we're not having to think about religion and
at
getting
least I want to
demonetized
be
and
a
whatever.
one, not a zero, though.
Why not a zero? I think zero would be much more fun.
Well, wait, everyone can be ones and zeros. I want to be a two.
No, because then you break the system. That can't happen. So it's either one or zero. I think like the men are like a zero and a woman is a one
No, a
because the
zero would be a
one.
woman because she has a womb.
Oh, true. And the one is more like well, you
A
two.
rod.
I love you so much. the only God I believe in, YouTube. YouTube's my God. I worship YouTube. I'm really trying to get no
Trying to get
out of
some good
YouTube.
nods from
That's what,
YouTube.
yeah, we have been saying a lot of crazy crap.
Yeah, that's good.
But I don't know. It's just so weird to me. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But all right, let's move on.
So
Let's move on. I did want to talk to you about Evil Dead, though. You saw the new one, right?
yeah,
Did you see the old ones? You've seen both the old ones, or no?
yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah. I
What do you
think
think
I
in
saw the first
comparison?
one.
Do you like the old style,
I
or do
like
you like the new ones better?
I like the new ones a lot more. I like the dark, like just creepy crap.
The more
And
serious.
maybe that's yeah. I don't like when it turns into a joke because I like the realism and like horror is so good when it's like you question whether or not it's real or not. You know,
They're almost
but when
different
it's
movies.
like yeah, I like if it wasn't an Evil Dead movie, I wouldn't have even thought about it. Like it being the same thing.
Yeah, I mean the original movie is very campy. It's very 80s ish, but it works because it's just that time period.
Yeah,
And then you watch the new ones and you're like, holy crap, like
yeah,
this is so intense. It's like Dawn of the Dead, the original, and then
yeah.
watching the new Dawn of the Dead. It's like, whoa,
Hmm. Hmm.
huge
Yeah,
shift.
and it's like also like 2013 or the 2013 one. It was just so dark and creepy
What
and
would you give that movie?
uh, I would give it a good 8 out of 10. I really liked
Interesting.
it.
You're gonna
I
think I'm
couldn't even
crazy, but
watch some of it.
I'm gonna give it a
What?
9.
Oh crap. Oh
I
wow!
love
I
the
was gonna give it more of
pacing.
a 7, but I was saying 8.
I love the pacing of that movie.
Yeah,
It never really gets boring to me. And then the ending, just the blood from the sky and just the final fight, just everything is so brutal in that movie. I love it. I love that movie. I like the
uh,
new one too, but I don't love it in the same sense.
man.
It's up there, but it's not as
Yeah,
good.
I thought it was cool gory wise.
Yeah,
I thought it was cool as a gore, but besides that, it wasn't the best. But man, 9 out of 10? That's
yeah.
crazy. I like the movie. I'm not gonna give it any bad um crap, but I don't
I
know what
would
would be
never
bad about
give
it. Not
Yeah, I would never give a movie like a 10 because I don't feel like anything's ever perfect. But definitely Exorcist, I'd give
oh,
like a
I do.
9.5 because the pacing, just everything about that
No,
movie they got right. What?
only only 10 out of 10 movie of all time, and you're gonna think of this as being true. Barney movie.
Barney and Bebop.
No, not Bebop. Only Barney.
Oh, okay. Good old Barney.
Pacing was perfect.
Yeah, just
I
the
don't know. No,
cinematography, the script, the children, everything about that movie just came together. And then you
yeah,
get the big dinosaur.
yeah, yeah. And the best thing about it is too, the kids were so realistic. Like when they saw the dinosaur, they were really scared. Maybe it's because there was allegations of pedophilia as the guy who was the dinosaur.
Is that true?
Maybe so. Maybe I don't know.
Oh,
There's a weird part of that song though. Have you seen it?
duh.
Like, have you? So with the song, Barney is a big dinosaur. Whatever, I'm
Okay.
not gonna get demonetized. I don't know why I'm saying demonetized. We're not monetized to begin with. It's not. We're kind of screwed. Like, I guess we're being demonetized because we're not monetized. I guess, but no. With the song, it's like copyright. No copyright. Um, with the song, I guess if you play it in reverse, it turns
Oh
out to be
no.
this weird, like dark, like crazy crap. And I guess like some of it's really outlandish, like it says like I want to eat your kids or whatever crap, but
Right.
it and it's just coming from like very like minuscule amount of time. Like if you didn't hear it without the subtitles, you'll be like, yes, I agree with the But it's like, yeah,
Yeah, I get what you're
yeah,
saying. It's so weird to think like
yeah,
that used to be a big thing in the 80s too. Like you'd play like a rock album and they'd be like, "Oh my god, it's devil music. If you play it backwards, it says like, stuff about Satan and blah blah blah." And it's like I think people were just looking for stuff. Honestly, if I was a rocker in the 80s, I would have intentionally made some kind of weird sound backwards just so people hated it.
yeah.